Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 39 of Quattroporte, the review series for Gran Turismo's pretty broad selection and a reasonably good mix of sports sedans or saloons and super saloons. And in this particular pick, I have to say this is one of those cars which, and this occasionally happens in different series, really surprises me. Either because it's just not a car that I've used that much, or maybe forgotten what it was like, or it's a car which has perhaps changed in how good, or maybe not so good it is on GT6, compared to how good it perhaps used to be, or didn't used to be. In this particular pick we're featuring a car which is, as many sleeper cars are, very easy to overlook. And to be honest, in the case of a sleeper car, that's not actually a bad thing. It's a BMW, and the car in particular is the 330i. Now, I am specifically not a fan of the 3 Series. The M3 I think is fine, but I'm just not a fan of it, especially the non-M Sport models. Now, this is kind of an M model, but at the same time not really, and so I didn't really have that much interest in it. To me, it's just a car. Nothing fancy, it just does the job. Which is fair enough in real life, but isn't exactly an enticing potential vehicle to own in the game, especially considering that when I have owned this car in the past on Gran Turismo, it's never really been that great, the performance hasn't been that strong, and the tuning potential isn't that broad. So, why am I saying that this is potentially a good car in this series? Well, because on GT6 at least, this is a shockingly good car, to me at least. Now, there may be other people who already love and regularly use this vehicle, but I don't really see anyone using or definitely not talking about how good this car is. Why is it good? Well, on paper, it doesn't sound that great at all, especially considering the other options that you have even from BMW, such as the 2 different M5s, which are both brilliant cars. And if you go outside of the saloon category, you've got the obvious choice of the M3, of which we have numerous models on the game. So why go for this one? Well, as far as spec, it's powered by a 3-litre engine, it's rear-wheel drive, as most BMWs are, and it's naturally aspirated. Now that is kind of a shame, because this car deserves to have more tuning potential, and a supercharger or turbo would really allow you to unleash more of this car's potential. But, that being said, this car does still put out 435 horsepower, which is not bad for a naturally aspirated engine. It also puts out 327 foot-pounds of torque, which is decent enough, and it's surprisingly lightweight. Now, you may expect it to be light, but this is a well-made car. It's a BMW, it's an executive car, and it's not a particularly small car. It is BMW's smallest saloon, but it's still not a small car. But, with the full weight loss package, it weighs 1,220 kilos, and that is pretty good. That's a lot lighter, sometimes the best part of 100 kilos or more, lighter than many of the other German sports and super saloons on the game. So although it doesn't have a huge amount of power, that is a very notable and potentially significant advantage to have, especially on twisty circuits. As far as horsepower per tonne, it puts out 357, which isn't surprising given that it doesn't have a broad amount of power to work with, and the PP is a reasonable 516. So why am I saying that it's good? Because the specs sound okay, but not amazing. Well, the reason why I'm saying it's so good is because of how this car handles. In a straight line, it's not that inspiring. The top speed is just over 200, around 210-ish at best, even more with NOS or draft. The acceleration is okay, but not exactly C63 AMG worrying. The handling, though, is really good. And for one specific reason, I would say. On Gran Turismo, there are certain vehicles which translate into the game very well, compared to what people consider those cars to be good for in real life. And this car is one of those. in real life, BMWs are known for being good drivers' cars, and the 3 Series is pretty much the leader of the pack in that regard. Now, the M3 is the go-to model for people to think of when it comes to BMWs that are good drivers' cars. Fun, competitive, good handling, but at the same time playful, capable of drifting and having fun. That translates really well into the game with this car. The handling is fantastic, and I mean fantastic. It's shockingly good, in fact. The car is more compact than an M5 or an E55, and you can really feel that. The fact that it also has less weight to deal with means that if you stiffen up the steering, it actually feels like you're driving a touring car, and that's pretty cool. Straight line performance it may not have, but cornering performance it really does have, and in my opinion at least, that more than makes up for it. Now, this is not a super saloon, nowhere near, but it is a sports saloon, and sports saloons aren't a particularly strong category on Gran Turismo. If you think of the kind of cars in that category, they don't tend to be amazingly good. You've got stuff like the Bora in that category. A decent enough car, but not exactly exciting or competitive in the broad scheme of things. This car, though, for a sports saloon, is deeply impressive. Now, it knows how to have fun. You can get the tail out, it makes a fantastic drift car, and you can have fun with it. It's not a completely focused track day special. But around corners, I guarantee you'll be impressed. So I'd recommend checking out this car, and that's it for this episode. So I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.